Okay, let's start. Welcome to the Balkan 2K15, first time a charm. Dear guests, dear hackers, hackerin, welcome to our third Congress in Novi Sad. This year we have lectures about amateur radio visualization of Wi-Fi traffic, security on the networks, and other things. Special accent I want to put on workshops that we'll have it tomorrow, workshops for journalists and workshops for Voja Antonic game workshop. We have a special guest from Crypto Party Berlin that will make its crypto party, learn it how to make it, other guests. And this year we want to share with you all new knowledge to repeat that we all knew so far. And I want to say welcome to you and let's start the game. And our first speaker will be from Novi Sad, Miodrag Milanovic, with MAME and presentation of software.
Thank you. Well, let's start. How many of you actually heard about the MAME? Yeah, expected. And how many of you actually heard about MES? Also expected, and I will give the later point on this. This talk will be mostly at what MAME is, what we are doing, and about the preservation of software and how we should, how we can all help improving that. First, what MAME is. MAME is a multiple arcade machine emulator, but that is the initial name of the project. Lately, we did some changes how we do things, and we incorporated a sister project called MES inside. The project was started by Nicolas Almoria in year 1997, and it was actually running first one game, then 5 games, and right now we are about 30,000 games actually playing inside MAME itself. Oh, just a second. Just a second. Okay, I did. Okay, MES is a sister project of MAME, and it is basically emulation of computers and consoles, and that is the thing that was not so important in past because we had less developers working on it, and it was not so popular among the people, as we can see also by the recognition of the name itself. And the problem was, well, first the name MES, you know, in English, you know what it tells you, but that was not the problem. But the problem was that there was a small amount of people working hard on emulation, but things were not popular, it was not so well advertised, and after all, it was not easy to put those kind of things, those kind of emulations inside the arcade cabinet and play game for free, which was obviously not our intention. Next thing I would like to talk is why the preservation of software is so important. First of all, most of the computer companies that producing software basically do not save all the versions of their software, and that is a really weird thing. But actually, even the big companies that produce games actually never had a good database of the software itself. And during the time, some of them, like Williams, for example, gave the ROMs to public, but those ROMs were just the latest versions of their software, because they just had those in their databases, just the last one, and not the previous versions. And our goal is to prevent problems like this. Also, things just get lost, you know, and the problems could be some backup systems failures and various other things that struck the data storages, and we just have the loss of some important software. Yeah, as I said, the storage mediums are just unreliable, and the problem is that software in past were stored on cassettes, also on floppies, which have a limited time. So basically, after some time, you just lost due to demagnetization of the medium, you just lost data on it. And also, when we look at what is saved in form of any mean of saving, like making a backup copies on the internet, you basically have just the good and nice stuff. So you are limited to preservation of the software, which is just well known and well done. And that it is not up to us to decide what should be saved and what should not be. Next thing will be how we actually do that from the side of MAME project. We use the source code as a document. So basically, our source code, MAME is done in C++, and you actually have the parts of code which contains just the CRCs and SHA one of the files, ROM files, from the original games or from the original firmwares of various computers or arcade games. Why this is important? Thing is that source code does not have anything that is legally owned by any other company. So basically, it is safe to store that as a part of the source code. Also, you have the one place on which you can actually check if some of the dumps is valid or not. And we have a tool inside our project that can loop through all the known ROMs and check if one of your ROMs is available in our database. The second thing we do from about 2 years in the past is XML software database. We called it soft lists, and those actually are basically the same thing, but made in an external as external documents, in which we have the listed software in form of list of, for example, floppies, and you have also a variant of grouping of those. So, for example, you have some games that are distributed on 5 floppies, so you have all of them listed and with their sizes and CRC, so you can actually check if those are real good dumps. Thing that we are now store is actually a best available dump of existing software. Why this is important? Thing is that, for example, you have you can find some floppy disk containing a copy of one computer game, and you make a copy of that. It's not original medium, but still it's that game, you know, and you have a copy of it. So that is best what you have in that moment. But during the time, you find the original medium, And what we do is then made original medium dump. And during the time, all the database is cleared, but we never get lost those that are rarely available. So it's always good to have at least some version if you can't have the original one. Of course, we are trying to push all the contributors just to give us only the originals from original medium and dumped on the verified methods, which is mostly important, for example, for floppies. And that's next point. So basically, floppies are characteristic because they are just changes of magnetic flux, nothing else. But the thing is that some of the floppy protection is based exactly on the some changes that are based on the speed of or velocity of changing the head over the while reading the data. So you can get in the position that you actually can't run software because you're not emulating properly that medium. Why the emulation is important? First, we are trying to preserve documents in software, and we try to do that without any change on the on that software or that documents. That way, we are able to preserve some older software and are able to show it how it worked in the past on the modern devices. So we are using actually latest technology to execute the old code. Also, we are using the modern storage for the old software. So all the cassettes are basically now stored in a digital form. So we don't have a problem of like we had before. Using MAME. What is MAME actually for, and who should actually use it? Well, first thing that everybody thinks MAME is for playing games. Well, it's not just that. I mean, we started as a arcade emulator, and that was year 97, so 18 years ago. So it was a long time ago, and basically our goal now is to try to change that. One of the important things that happened meanwhile was merged with MAME, MS. So what that gave us is basically we involved the development for computers and for consoles into the world of MAME. MES was always just as a sister project of MAME. So basically what we did is that we used the source code of MAME as a start point, and then just add new devices, emulation, and add the support for reading cassettes and floppies and so on. One of the most powerful things inside the MAME is its debugger. Debugger is very useful since you can basically develop and see how the things are working on actual machine from the past. By executing it, you can change code, you can change data areas. Basically, you have a sandbox in which you can play with the old computers and software for it. I can give you an example of that we are actually right now able to run Windows 2000 in the MAME. So on the Intel processors. So basically we reached that level of emulation. But also what is important is that our goal is for MAME to be used in the development of some new hardware and to use it as a development tool for creating a new hardware that actually does not exist. Because, for example, we have the 80 cores for CPUs, and also a lot of other sound cores, video cores. So basically you can easily take all of that, create some virtual machine that doesn't exist, and write software for it, and then you can basically build it afterwards. Important thing that happened, that is going to happen, but it's still in works, is going open source. MAME was always source available. So for all these years, we always gave our source to people, and it was free to download. And the main problem why it was not open source is that there was misuse of some other companies and persons that thought it was really good to make money off it. And basically the thing that they did is they built arcade cabinets, and then they sold those arcade cabinets with MAME inside. And also they used the name of the MAME, which is trademark, and that's why we needed to register that trademark in order to prevent this kind of problem. And the main problem is that basically after that we were those that were having a problem because of their misuse, because companies were sending complaints to us thinking that we are actually because we created the emulator, but legally there were no problems. First thing that we did is that we used the SVN, and first thing that we did, we joined two SVNs. One was a MAME SVN, which was private, and the other was MES SVN, which was public during that time. And we merged that and created that first as a public repo. And then after that, we decided to move to the GitHub. And that was really a good and important step, because that is how we gained more people to work with our software. And the good thing is that actually what we did is that we open ourselves to community and said, okay, be aware that MAME is there, that we are open, and that you can contribute easy to us. And to be honest, it's really saved us a lot of time for the merging of the additional things that the people are sending to us. Thing is that MAME has its own license in the past, and yeah, still, and it's modified BSD3 license. And that only change that actually is there is that we are basically, you can you reuse code, you can without any consequences, but actually you can't use it for the commercial purposes. You can't sell that. And that's the restriction which is not recognized by OSI. And that's the reason why we are actually moving to the new license. But since there is really a large number of contributors, and we still need a way somehow to protect their rights on their code. Thing that I proposed was these three licenses. Most of the code right now, we are somewhere about 96% of coverage of code that is licensed. Because we needed to contact each and every contributor from the last 18 years, and that's a hell of a job. So it's not that easy. And 96% of code is now covered with the licenses, and about I think it's about 84% of current code is BSD3. And this is really important because this really gives full freedom of usage of our code. And what is most important is that it's basically core of the project is BSD3. And that makes things easier for any future use. And GPL2 and LGPL2 are mostly code that is emulation of specific computers or arcades. So because there are some things that people really spend a lot of money and effort in the past, and they want to protect that in some way, just at least to be able to get a code back from whoever using it. Yeah, the one important thing is that why we did move to the open source is that actually good thing for us would be usage of other open source libraries, and then we will be compatible when we are also the open source fully. And also there are a lot of companies that are actually giving their tools for free to all the developers that are producing the open source software, which is sometimes really important for us, especially for some profiling and things like that. What also this should improve is making things easier for academic usage and history preservation. We have a lot of contact with people in past that ask us, can they use, for example, MAME inside museums to show things they actually own there. So in some countries, when you own, basically when you own a machine or a computer, you can take its ROM, read the content and use it on the emulator, and that would be legal because you own the real machine as well. In some countries that's not the case, but at least in some it is. And basically they couldn't do that because they are a museum, and they're actually you actually need to pay to come inside the museum, and that would be commercial use. Even if we agree on that, they could have a problem. And this should at least solve some issues like this. So we are really happy if there are museums or schools using MAME as a tool for learning and to showing some things. Also, what we want to do is to let legal owners of the rights for specific games or ROMs of or some specific software to be able to use MAME as a platform. So basically, no, we are not going commercial, but we will always be open. We will still always be free for use. But we will just let the other companies that own the rights for the specific game to use the MAME as a core, and to create basically emulator that will run that game and as with the MAME core. I will do a little talk about maintaining of such a big project as MAME. There are currently 52 active developers. It's big and it's not that big. When you see that there is 200 megabytes of pure source code. So that is just C++ code, nothing else. There is additional 60 megabytes of XML software definitions. But basically it's a real large code base, and during the past years we were, for example, 5 years ago most of the code was in pure C, and now everything is in C++. It was a transition that took a long time, but if you keep in mind about how large the project is and that people are only working in their spare time, it really takes a lot of effort to put and to transfer everything. And the thing is that, for example, even on the high-end computers, it takes you at least 15 minutes to compile all from scratch. So we are talking about almost 5 gigahertz CPUs, and and the thing is that it's a process. It takes a while, but we are trying to do that. Points of improvement. Well, as I said, this project is not done and will never be done, actually. And that's a good thing, and that's also a bad thing. Good thing is because we are actually always improving ourselves and trying to add more and more inside MAME. We see our mistakes from the past, and we try to improve that somehow. The worst thing we actually have is UI. I mean, we were never very much user-friendly, and that's the problem with most of the users we have, that it's not easy to use, that it's becoming more and more harder to use. But MAME was always developer friendly and never user friendly, and we are trying to change that. We are also in good cooperation and with the author of BGFX, and we are trying to use that graphic library and to use it in our system, and to because it's a good starting point for us. And I personally think it will be good for the future of the project. Also, a point of improvement will be inter-process communication. So, what is the idea? You are actually emulating, for example, a PC computer, but you would like to have another PC computer and to make them talk to each other. So that's our goal, basically, to have multiple machines running on your computer and be able to talk to each other. Right now, we can do that on the network layer. So basically, we have, for example, emulation of old Mac computers from Motorola era, and they are able to use the network cards and able to use the internet from today, and you can actually browse using the browser from the OS of old Mac computer. And that's kind of interesting thing, because you could actually try some things from the past you were not able, because there are things like VAX machines and there are PDP-11s and things like that that we are trying to get into MAME and MAS and basically make it available for people to try out. Also, as I mentioned, BGFX is our way, I think, out to use the 3D acceleration of available hardware, because there are a lot of arcades that are actually made with the 3D hardware, and also we have things like Voodoo graphics that was a lot. I mean, very good for its time, and basically our idea is to use existing 3D capabilities in order to make this happen, and to be much faster, and to use that when we have that available on our machine. Next thing is exposing whole core using Lua language, and that's I believe you probably a lot of you guys heard about it, and it's really it's a simple language, easy to incorporate with C and C++, and basically idea is to expose as much as we can from the core. So basically, you can create the plugins and some additional things to the emulation and make it more usable. For example, people are always trying to use some cheats and things like that, and also high scores. That was a thing that was removed from the MAME time ago, and reason why it was removed because the real machine didn't save high scores. So emulation should not save the high scores as well. And thing is that you can actually, with this kind of scripting, you can make a script that will actually do the same for you. Just on the close of the machine, it will just go and save the specific parts of memory on file, and you will have your high score saved. About the goals for the future. Our main goal is to create a MAME core as a universal platform for emulation. So basically to make it a de facto standard for emulation, and to make more people and more companies to use it as a startup point. My next personal goal is to finish licensing process. It's a process that actually took me about a month to reach some initial state in which we have a lot of things covered, but some things, some people are actually really hard to find, and that's basically the problem. We can't go without at least trying to contact each and every contributor from past, and that's time consuming. One thing that we actually would like to see is our official mobile version. And we know that there are a lot of mobile versions of MAME, but those were basically based on the code that we produced beginning of 2000, year 2000. So you actually have about at least 10 years lost meanwhile of development, and that's a lot what was done during that time, and that is what we would like to change. Also, we would like to add whatever is left to be emulated, and that's not a small amount of things, definitely. We started with, when I started working on project, I noticed, for example, that there were no computers from this region at all added. So I tried and add one by one. And after a year, then I noticed there were a lot of Eastern European computers, at least at all not available. And I also then started adding them. I tried to contact some Russian developers, some developers from East Germany, ex-East Germany, and they were really helpful, and they sent us ROMs, and they sent us their version of emulators, and they help us fix some issues. And actually during the time we added hundreds of machines that were just never of interest for the Western people. But after some time, you see that there was just, those machines were really interesting for people. For example, everyone wants to see how the first machine that ran Tetris looked like, and what's that machine, how it booted, how it worked. You just want to know how it looked. And that is what we actually try to do. So there is always something to be emulated, and I hope we will get more contributions during the time. Yeah, I think I'm almost at the end of my time. So I would like to ask you if there is some questions. Yeah.
Well, actually,
Yeah. Just a second.
am I better?
Yeah.
Okay, I have one comment and two questions. First is regarding magnetic media. my experience with my own magnetic media is that if it is well stored, it will work.
Yep.
I have my tapes and floppies from over 30 years ago, and they still function perfectly, actually. And I'm very happy about it. What I wanted to ask is, do you have any cooperation with cryoflux people? They made
Yep.
device to read the floppy disks. And other question is, do you have cooperation with other people who work on specific emulators for the machines?
Yeah. Well, I will first answer the second one. Actually, we do have the cooperation with people working on other emulators. And yeah, during the time we were known as a Borg emulator because we assimilate everything that we find. But basically it was not that true. But thing is that what is different between MAME and the other emulators is that we actually have a goal to emulate everything, you know, and all of those other projects have a goal to emulate just specific machines or just from the specific manufacturer, for example. And thing is that when they are finished, they're finished and there is nothing to improve, and those projects basically are most of those projects have even better capabilities in some places than MAME, and the reason is that they can basically optimize their work because they are doing one thing. We are trying to generalize that, and that is a problem, but it is also a good thing because you have the more. So we have the good communications with a lot of authors. For example, for the author of Modeller emulator, also from PSX author, and we have the communications also with other. I have the good communication with some Russian developers, and every of us have a communication with some of the people. Thing about the cryoflux and the other ways of preserving the media. Well, thing is that they kept their format closed, and that was our biggest problem. We could create the image of media, but we didn't have we were not able to read it because they just have a DLL and provide us just the interface, and that was not enough for us because we are actually multi-platform project, so we need to work on Linux and OS X as well. And the thing that happened is that basically one of our guys did a reverse engineering of whole their streams, and basically he documented everything and put that online, and the day after they put their documentation online with the full description of everything, and they were matching, but they were just from the different authors. So yeah, basically they were thinking of opening themselves, but yeah, it was just a moment of decision. So basically, yeah. At the end, we have the cryoflux support. Yeah. Thank you. Any more questions? Feel free to ask. Yeah. Yeah, from Angers. Yeah, we were in communications. Yeah, I exchanged a few messages with him afterwards, and yeah, I seen that, and it's really a good thing that there are actually people that promote our software in the world, because I mean. Thing is that most of the people see it as a way how to play free games, which is, you know, not our intention. And basically, idea is, I mean, using it for something totally different. And for example, we have the contribution that expanded our Lua support. And the good thing there is that basically the guy created the script which, for example, show you the hit boxes in a game, so you can actually see where it will strike you before it strikes. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool stuff, but you can actually do that without any code change. So you have just a scripting language in which you can do that, and that's really good because it let people imagination work, and they can create something new. And the good thing is also that, you know, we are working with the different computers, different devices, and during the time they're just overrun by the new technology, and we just need to move and to improve ourselves and to be able to emulate something from the past in order to use it. For example, now you just can't execute any of MS-DOS 16-bit applications. You were able to do that on the 32-bit OS, but you can't do that on the 64-bit OS. So, yeah, we need to find a way in order to make people be able to use those kind of applications, because they store just, or they can't move their software, or they don't want to do that, and it's, I mean, it's easier to emulate VAX and just to copy all software and then use the same software there and read the data, nor to just, you know, take and rewrite everything. So that would be very time consuming. Any other questions? Yep. Okay, sure.
You said that with your database of software that you want to make sure that you are not against someone's copyright.
Yeah.
So do you have some criterion how you decide if something is abandonware or not? You mentioned Windows 2000. Yeah. I imagine you would not put this into your code database.
No.
So what do you put in? How do you decide?
Well, just let me explain. Basically, what we put in our database are just the some file name, size, and CRC, and SHA1. So you basically have just a hash of, and the size, which is enough to distinguish files. And we do not provide any of those ROMs because we can't. And there are, but there are some companies that gave us a right to provide their ROMs, and basically you can find them on our site. Those are just some simple games, but it's okay. I mean, during the time, we believe that there will be some other companies that will also give their games for free, and at least those will be available. I mean, they can't sell it anymore, but the main problem is that you have issues like, for example, if it was a game from Sony era, you have a CD which contained the data that is not that problematic. So you will have the some company that is having right on the code. But the problem is, for example, that music is that is used for that game was licensed just for that one release and for the time period of, I don't know, 3-4 years. And after that, even Sony can't sell it anymore with those songs. They need to put something else or to relicense. So it's really, I mean, those legal stuff are really tricky, and we are trying to be out of that. But you know, it's as I said, it's, for example, for the relicensing, is really time consuming just to contact all the people to ask them what license would they like for their code to be used. But then you have other problem. Some of the people just don't understand the difference between licenses. Not sure, they're not sure how they will be protected. And the thing is that what we noticed is that MAME license didn't protect anyone, basically. Thing that we changed in past, and we said it's not allowed to be used in commercial use, didn't save us from commercial use. I mean, everyone who wished actually did that, and we can't do anything because we are not recognized license, you know, and there is nobody who could, we don't have a lawyer who will go and say, you know, but it also depends in which country you are, and it's kind of complex things. But yeah, we never delivered the software. We just delivered the hash and the name and the size, which is enough to distinguish them. Yep, sorry. Yeah, you have torrents. You can. I mean, it's really easy to find any ROMs for MAME. I mean, they always ask us why do we put I don't know, fruit machines? Why do we put pinball machines? I mean, those are as well arcades. For now, they're not playable. That's the fact. There are also a lot of drivers that are not playable. They're not, emulation is not finished, or protection is not yet done. And basically what we say is that we will always give the full set, and officially you will always get a full set of games listed. So people will then download the torrents, etc., and they will distribute that all over the world. So software will be preserved that way. So basically, we are making sure that not only nice things are saved, but everything is basically saved. So even if it's produced by the IBM, or if it's produced by Sony, or if it's produced by some company that never heard of, it will be saved, you know, and that's the whole goal of the preservation of software that we are trying to achieve. Okay, I think that will be it. Okay, one more question, sure.
Hi.
Yeah, okay.
So I have a question. You said that MAME was once open source and then it went closed source. Am I right? Did I understand you well? Or?
No. It was always source available, but it's basically, I mean, it was you can always download source, but it was never open source till recent times. Yeah.
So the source was available like in public domain, or?
Yeah. You could basically download each release. SVN, you notice good. SVN was not public, and you could actually not see whole development during time. But when the release time comes, we place the source code at our website. So that's basically changed now. We moved to GitHub, and basically you can have the source always available, and you can download even the old releases from the 0.1.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, I believe that's it. So thank you, everyone, and I wish you good rest of the day. Thank you.